Calvin Castine, off camera, behind the camera. It's the 17th day of April 2013, and it's probably close to a month before we all people in New York State head to the ballot boxes and vote on the school budget. And I know all the schools in the area have been very busy. Every once in a while a new school will pop into the paper with what they're projecting for their budget for the 2013-2014 school year. And here at Northeastern Clinton, we have what I believe is called an interim.
That's right.
Superintendent, a fellow named Blair that I met. I can't tell you when I first met him, but I bet you he could tell me.
It was when I was in Shazy.
Right, but the year, I mean.
Oh, the year. Let's see.
I know you're in Shazy, but
that was 1992. No, I'm sorry. No, 2000. No, I'm sorry. 2005, maybe.
Probably around there.
Yeah.
Because you were there till Kevin Mulligan, I believe.
Right.
Came, and now we're on to John Fairchild. So
right.
you were there too.
Yeah. Yes. Had a bond issue. We put a bond issue. We put the soccer field in and did a bond issue while I was there and renovated the school.
And I think your title at that point was interim too, wasn't it?
I stayed 5 years as a part-timer. Yes.
And what I've seen in the news reports is you've already been signed up for another year here.
Another year here, yes.
At Northeastern Clinton. Now, your job there at Shazy was not your first dip into the water. How long have you been in administration, Jerry?
This is my 49th year. No, administration. I've been in administration since 1970, and I was a teacher prior to that. But this is my 49th year in education.
But the vast majority of that has been in administration obviously, because 1970, that's 43 years ago.
Yes.
So, and I know you went on to, and I think you were at Lake Placid prior to Shazy, then you went back to Lake Placid for a while, didn't you?
I was in Lake Placid for 18 years as their superintendent. I started out as a superintendent principal at the high school, and then the numbers just got too great to carry that forth. So I became a superintendent and hired a principal, and then after that I went to places like Schroon Lake, Catskill, down south of Albany. I've been to Bosse's 3 times. I've been to Northern Adirondack once. Been back to Schroon Lake twice. I was there twice, and I'm up here now. So I've been around different schools and been able to see different approaches to how the boards run and how the schools run. And I have some expertise in some of the areas, so I enjoy what I do. I thoroughly enjoy it. I love the kids. I have a good time with kids.
Well, you've got to like administrating too, because it's a lot of paperwork and
it is
a lot of hoops to jump through every time the state.
Every time the state has. You're right. Right. Yes.
Okay, so back when Christy Grand-Prix was here, we started right around the time that budget presentations are made to the public. Chris asked me if we'd stop in and talk about the budget. We'd sit down in a fashion similar to what we're doing right here. And we did that all through Bob Hebert's term and then Peter Turner's turn. And this may not be our last visit here because the budget was just finalized last night. Is that
last
correct?
night, that's right.
So that's April 16th.
Yes.
And the vote is what date again?
May 21st.
May 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the universal across the state
Yes.
vote. Used to be a lot of places had to have their vote in June, and it came very late in the
That's right.
in the fiscal year for a lot of schools because people kept working on it, and the budget would be presented late, and all of a sudden it's time for a new budget, and we haven't voted on what it's going to be. So a while back the state said everybody's going to vote at the same time. And for the past 3 years or so, they've cooperated on their end a little bit by passing their state budget beforehand.
Yes.
And there's always been a shot in the dark sometimes when the state hasn't passed their budget and they're asking you to vote on your school budget. But right now the state figures are in, so we know
That's right. You didn't know what you were going to get and that
Right.
sort of thing, and it made it very, very difficult.
Okay. So, what would you like to talk about first, Jerry? The difficulty in arriving at what you got. What do you think we should
Well,
tackle first?
this has been a very difficult year, and you can see it nationwide. I mean, the country's having problems, the state is having problems, municipalities and school districts along with that. What we had to do, due to state law, is we had to come in under, quote, a cap. They commonly talk about the 2% cap. Every school district has a different cap figure. You'll see in the paper there's some 5%, there's some 4%, 3%, and what that is a calculation. A number of different categories have to be considered, put into a formula, and then your cap comes out of that formula. And what that cap is you can't exceed that unless the board decides to do that. If they exceed it, you have to have 60% of the population approve your budget.
Of the population or the people
Of
who actually vote?
The people who actually vote.
Okay.
Of the voters.
Right.
And if you don't exceed that cap, you need 50%, 51%
Yeah, 50 plus
of the voters,
Yeah.
of the voters.
Right.
So most school districts are going for under the cap. I mean, very few are going for over the cap. And our cap is basically 2.7. And due to our fiscal situation, we will probably be very close to that. We won't exceed it, but we will be very close to that. We will figure that all out in the next couple of weeks to see exactly where we need to be.
So you'll be doing some fine tuning.
Fine tuning, yes.
Now, is the 2.7, is that on the levy or on the amount that the people are going to pay?
That will be the amount that they will 2.7 will be put on their taxes.
Okay, so it's not the overall levy, so if the state increased their portion by 10%, it doesn't affect that.
That's right.
It's just the tax levy,
Right.
not the overall.
That's right. What happened was that the state came out with a budget and we got X amount of dollars. Now, X amount of dollars got changed about 3 weeks ago where they spent more money statewide. The legislature gave all school districts more money statewide. And in that period of time, we got about 390,000 more. Where our problem was threefold. Number one, our retirement for teachers and non-teachers increased, where we had to pay more money to both retirement entities. The second thing was our health insurance costs increased, and they were additional costs that we had to put into this year's budget. Along with that, in the previous 3 years, this district has had extra money that they have allocated to the budget. And in the past 4 years, they have put in $3 million a year
From the reserve.
from the reserve. And that kept the tax rate down to where the people paid no more on their taxes unless their assessment was changed.
Right.
If their assessment was changed, they paid more or they paid less, depending on that. But the school district taxes did not go up. Well, when I arrived in July of this year, we had 1.5 million left. Now, in making a budget, you have a $3 million last year, you have a 1.5 million this year, you got 1.5 million you've got to fill back into the budget in order to make the budget equal to what it was last year. So we didn't have revenue. The revenue was slim. I mean, we got a little bit. So we had to go into the budget and start cutting items out. Now, what I tried to do throughout all of this period of time was not to try to affect children in any way that I could possibly eliminate. If I could eliminate something and it didn't have an effect on children, that was very important to me. But you're not going to get 1.5 million out of basketballs or pencils. I mean, you're going to have to really do some cutting.
Now, how big is the overall budget? So when we're talking 1.5 million, we're comparing it to how big a?
27 million.
27.
Yeah. So consequently, what we did was we had a first round of cuts, and in the first round of cuts, we tried to trim any place that we had, where we had anything extra. For an example, I came on board and I make a lot less money than does the previous superintendent. So in that sum of money that they paid the superintendent, my salary was taken out of that. But we weren't going to use all that money, so we cut some of that out of that line. And we cut out of different lines, places where we had some money extra just in case. That didn't raise enough money to equal the 1.5 million. We talked to the unions. We talked to the unions. We mentioned to the unions the problems that we had, and nothing came of our talks. So we had to go to another phase. And the next phase we went to was we cut a series of teachers 20%. We took one class away from them, and now we're going to have to figure out, we'll sit down the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll figure out how we're going to cover those classes that we cut. How that will affect children will be the fact that some of the electives that we have had that children can take in addition to their core courses will be eliminated. We had considered at an early time of eliminating a whole series of sports, say for an example JV or modified. We put that back in because we feel that that's an outlet for children. We have a lot of children who wish to participate, and we have a large percentage of our population participates in sports.
Yeah, and every level is filled with
That's right.
participants.
We're filled.
Yeah.
We
So
don't
cutting
have,
a level,
Cutting a-
meaning cutting kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So consequently, what we ended up doing was we eliminated 4 teachers from different areas: math, English, social studies, and then we cut a piece of science out. Now in science it's a little bit different. Science, you have certifications that a person can only teach physics, or a person can only teach chemistry. So you can't eliminate a teacher and try to offer those courses. You have to be certified in them, so we've got to do a little juggling there to figure out how we're going to reduce that a couple of periods. But the other ones, we've had 4 retirements, 1 from social studies, 1 from English, 1 from foreign language, and 5, and 1 PE person and a custodian. None of those positions are we going to fill to 100%. We will take the PE position, and we have a person who is teaching about 60 to 80%. We'll put that person into that position, make them full-time, but then we'll have a little position of maybe 40% that we'll have to fill with somebody. So that'll be the only place there. So all of that being said, after we get all done with the cuts of the 20%, with the cuts of the 5 people, we come up with a balanced budget. Now, yes, it is balanced, but there are difficulties in that budget. There is very little wiggle room. There's very little leeway. And people were saying, at different times they've talked to me, they say, what happens if the budget doesn't pass? Well, if the budget doesn't pass, we have 2 votes. If we can't pass the budget on 2 votes, we must cut an additional $280,000 out of the budget to do what is called an austerity level. $280,000 out of the next piece of the budget would be devastating to us. So we're going to try to get information out to people. We're going to have information meetings, have people come understand what we're trying to do. I would like to see the district in a 2 to 3 year period of time come back up to where they could reinstate some of the positions that had been lost and come back to whole. I don't know what the economic picture is going to be. I don't know whether the federal government will send us the amount of money that they have been sending us in the past. I don't know whether the state will see its way clear to give us as much as they gave us this year. Taxpayers, it's very difficult. Very difficult. If you were to say to taxpayers, "Gee, we need a 6% raise in order to make our budget whole," I don't see how people could possibly vote for that. It's just too much money.
Right.
And so consequently, we're trying to stay low. We're trying to stay, down around the 2%, 2.5% level, and see if we can maintain the school and not go to any further cuts.
Now, you mentioned the retirement and insurances. Those, of course, are fixed things that you can't do anything about. Well, you can a little bit with the insurances, but with people paying a little bit more themselves.
Yes.
But percentage-wise, how much, roughly? I don't expect you to know all the exact numbers here, but percentage-wise, how big a jump did those?
The retirement went from 12 to 16%
Increase.
and that's substantial. The health insurance went up to 14 from 11, and then it went back down. So we're about 8%.
So when you get rather large parts of your budgets that are jumping by such big percentages.
That's right.
It really puts a stress on the rest of the budget.
That's right.
To stay within your guidelines of 2.7%.
Right. And we had raises. We had raises that we had to pay people.
Yeah, it's contract.
Yeah.
Contracts. Now, I remember from years, lots of years, one of the ways schools would encourage getting at the budget they wanted to get at was to offer incentives for early retirement. And I've been thinking all this time that this is not a good long-range plan here. Getting people retired early and paying retirement on them for 5-10 more years
Right.
is not good. It's good initially because you hire the new teacher at a
Right.
lesser income, but in long-range planning that does not make sense, and I think that has not overall helped school districts that have gone that route.
It hasn't. It gives you a 1-year fix. The difficulty that we have is that we have no extra money in order to offer the incentive. Giving you an example, we talked about a $3 million amount of money that was placed in the budget. We talked about this year $1.5 million put into the budget. In this budget, I have $85,000 left.
So we have virtually no reserve.
I have no reserve.
Now, isn't that kind of dangerous?
It is dangerous. I'm trying to add in for next year the amount of aid that we will get on projects that this school district has had. We're finishing parts of the project. We'll get a substantial amount of aid. Give you a prime example of how this works. We're moving a secretary from the high school to the bus garage full-time. In the bus garage, we are subsidized by the state at 87%. So if we spend $1 in the bus garage, the state sends us 87 cents back. So if I could run a classroom in the bus garage in the back of a bus, I would be doing that. But it makes sense. I'm putting a custodian up there for an hour a day. I'm doing a number of different things, trying to get the maximum amount out of people and get subsidized besides that. So those are the ways that we're trying to work with the state. I have been meeting with local school districts, adjacent school districts, to talk about sharing. Could we share this job? Could we share that job? Could we then go to BOCES and have the person hire through BOCES, and then the two of us share the job and get BOCES aid on the job. So we're still looking at a couple of jobs that may happen for. At this point, nothing has materialized, but we're still exploring.
Are you at liberty to say what type of jobs that would be?
Well,
or
there
would
would be,
not?
no, they would be jobs like transportation supervisor.
Okay.
We've got a retirement. Shazy's got a retirement within the year coming up. So if we got together with Shazy and talked about that, what could we do? I mean, how could we have the person be here 3 days a week, there 2 days a week, or something along that line? They have their person has other duties along with the transportation supervisor. Ours doesn't have those duties. So we're trying to see if we can work that out. Share a teacher. If we wanted to offer a course that we didn't have a teacher for, and Shazy or Northern Adirondack could share with us a half-time teacher, that's another way to share. We can still offer a couple of sections of something, but we don't employ the person full-time. So it's the sharing of just about anything you can think of. In Lake Placid, we shared gas. We put in a tank in Lake Placid. Nobody wanted to share anything until the town's gas tank started to leak. Then they got all excited because that's very expensive to fix gas tanks. So we put a gas tank above ground. We had the fire department, the ambulance, the police, the town, the village, and the school district all go to the same tank and take gas out. And it was an ideal situation. You used the card and, the bills got sent out. So it's the sharing that you don't save tons of money, but I'm in the point of view now that if I can save, 10 cents, if I can save 10 cents, I've got $1.
Right. Penny saved.
That's right. That's
penny
right.
earned.
That's right.
Of course, we have to look down the road. Now, you mentioned that your position is costing less right now because you're in a situation where you're actually retired and
Right.
this is an interim type of thing.
Right.
So there's certain things where, I don't know, benefits I'm sure that we don't pay you that we
That-
have to pay for a full-time.
That's right.
A full-timer because he doesn't have retirement would demand more salary.
That's right.
So when you leave, automatically we're gonna have that
That's right. That's right.
increase right there.
In the meantime, though, I'm trying to figure out ways that I can use just a portion of my salary and have that like for next year. I'm not going to work 40 days, so I'll give 40 days of my salary back to the school district. I'll come to work probably 20 of those days anyway, but I won't be paid for 40 days. Now that's in addition to I'm trying to contribute back
Uh-huh.
so that the district, so we can get to that 1.5 million. That's my contribution back. But the principals have taken 5 days each off. The head bus driver, transportation supervisor, the head of maintenance, they've taken 3 or 4 days off. So we've tried to put in those salaries, and I floated an idea early on that on our first snow day, no one come to school and we don't get paid. And that would be, X amount of dollars that we would have. Well, that idea didn't fly, like I thought it would have, but I'm trying anything.
Well, part of that was fine. Nobody comes to school.
That's right, that's right.
But the other part,
part
not get
getting paid. I wrote to several people that we do business with and asked for donations, grants. Didn't hear back from anybody. I asked from one agency, a big agency, for a large grant. I didn't hear back from them. But we are basically very, very close to the bone. And, it's going to take us several years to build our budget back up to where we will have anything like $1 million, $2 million surplus.
Now, we've probably got a problem too, that I would think, based on past experience, that enrollment probably isn't increasing.
Well, that's interesting that you ask. I believe we're the only school in Clinton County that grew.
Really?
Yes. We started out early on in the September-October timeframe of having roughly 80 more children. We've kind of tapered back with some moving and whatever. We're back about 60 additional kids. And other schools are reporting that, their population is dropping. They haven't got the same number. So what I tell people is that all of those extra folks are coming here because we're such a great school,
Yeah.
or they're just waiting to cross the border. I'm not sure which one, but we do have 60 extra children.
Well, we had pick up a few because of St. Mary's closing, not a
Yes.
substantial amount, but a
Yes.
few of those because of St. Mary's.
Yeah.
But we are in a situation, you mentioned the border, and we've also got the lake there, and the other side of there, we do get quite a few students from Vermont, so.
We get about 30, 35 that come over from Vermont, Alberg, and I'm going up into the next area, Grand Isle, and talking to them. We're going to try another approach. We're going to advertise in the Montreal area and south of Montreal for Canadians who wish to come for their senior year here. In Canada, you graduate in the 11th grade, our equivalent 11th grade, and then you spend a year doing something, and then you go to college in basically your 13th year. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to bring some Canadians, if I can get 3 to 4 to start, come down, take courses with us, take our advanced placement, take our courses, whatever it may be, charge tuition. We won't have any housing. I mean, they'd have to come across the border each day. But if we can get 3, 4 children to come, we charge $9,500 a child. Once again, I'm talking about the amount of money, anything I can grow. We're trying to get all of Vermont's children that are available to come to us, and that would give us about 38. So we've got 6 to 8 more that go to another school system in Vermont, and we would like to see them come to us. They seem to be successful here. They seem to like it, and we'd like to spread the success for them, and it's good for us and it's good for them.
Yeah, when you look at Alberg in particular, but also Isle of Mont and maybe North Hero, coming here, I would think, is closer than their Vermont alternatives. Yeah, I don't like that drive from Alberg to Swanton myself.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure of distances. Alberg has been established over time. That's been here. They transport here. If they go to BOCES, they pay for the cost to go to BOCES. So there's no real expense to the local taxpayer. It's kind of a revenue, but the experience that the child has here is a good experience for him, and then they can attend any New York State school because they graduate from a New York State high school. So if that child would like to go to Plattsburgh or go to Clinton Community, it's not an out-of-state thing. They can get New York State
So
rates
SUNY treats them as a
resident.
local.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good deal for them.
Yeah.
And consequently, we'd like to offer that to Canada. We're not exactly sure. We haven't got an answer on out of the country people whether they would have it.
Yeah,
But
that may not
But
fly.
if that could fly, that could be a biggie. Now they can't come to us. People ask me, well, will they be on our hockey team? No, they cannot come to us and play hockey because they are graduates. They've all graduated, and this is sort of like a post-secondary education to them. So we're going to advertise it as all of our courses are available. That's why we're trying to keep as many of our courses as we can, and see if we can build that up. We could build that up to 10 to 15 kids over a period of time. That would be very, very nice.
Well, you could also look at the elementary possibilities too, because a good number of students at St. Mary's came down here
From Canada.
not just for the I'll say Catholic education, but they weren't necessarily Catholics. They came because of
English.
because of English, also because they wanted that environment that a religious school provides, rather than, but the English was a big part of that too.
Sure.
So you've also got those elementary kids that would possibly come across for an English.
Yeah, I haven't explored that because I'm so packed in the elementary. I mean, I'm running classes in the
So you
24 to 28 range.
And you can't
And
have a kid and then
No.
all of a sudden you need an extra teacher.
That's right.
Not very cost effective.
No, I can't have that. So we can handle seniors. We can handle the ninth graders who come. They come at probably about 14, 15, 16 a year. We can handle that. Elementary could be tricky. I mean, if I get 15 third graders, I can't say to you, well,
Yeah.
you can't send your child, but
Yeah.
you can send your child. So I'm kind of laying low on elementary until we can get a real good picture.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Jerry? We obviously have to remind people when voting is and when the hearings are, public hearings.
Right.
Where they can pick up information on their own, the pamphlets and
They
so on.
can. We'll have budgets available in all the schools within a couple of weeks. If people aren't registered to vote, you have to be registered. It's the same registration that would allow you to vote in a national election, a state and local election. It makes you eligible for school elections. We have the registration forms here in this office. We'll send a few to the other principals' offices, and people can come in and pick that form up, fill it out, return it to us, and we'll submit it to the Board of Elections for them. And then they would be on the ballot. They'd be on the registration rolls to vote for this vote or any state or local vote that they wish to go to in the future. But you must be registered. You cannot come.
You know when the cutoff date for that is?
No, I don't. But I would say probably 20 to 30 days before the vote. So if they wish to register,
Get
they
it
should.
done by end of April.
Yeah, they ought to get that done pretty rapidly. Yeah.
Okay. And the vote? And
The
budget hearings?
vote is the 21st. The hearing is it's going to be in Moores, and it's on the 8th, and it'll be at 5:30, and the vote is here at the high school and on the 21st. So
Okay, so it'll just be the one hearing?
it'll be one hearing. We may have two. We may have
Okay.
two. We'll see. We may have a second one. We're deciding on that.
Yeah, I know in years past they've had two hearings and still got two people, you know.
Yes, well, yeah, you don't get a lot of people to come to it, but we've tried with the 12 meetings that we've had, we've tried to inform people all the way along the line of what we were doing, and our main, we actually had a full meeting of all 9th through 12th graders to explain to them what the budget process was like and where we were going with it. So we informed the kids, we've informed the adults, and those who came got some information. But I certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and I hope if people have any questions, please feel free to call me here at school. I'd be glad to sit down and talk with them. I'd be glad to talk to them on the phone. And if there's a little meeting that's going on someplace in the near future, some club or some organization, I'd be glad to come and pass out our information and talk to them at that time. So I've only lost one vote in my time, and that was a tie vote. That's kind of like marrying your sister.
Yeah.
When you have a tie vote, you lose the vote. And the next day it really made me mad. 20 people came by and said, gee, if you needed me, I would have been there. Well, where were you?
Right.
So anyway, but I'm hoping the budget will pass, and I'm hoping that we can continue on and bring ourselves back.
Okay, again, it's April 17th that we're doing this. Attend the budget hearings. You'll be getting literature in the mail. And we want to thank Jerry Blair for taking us time to offer this, that people can be informed of what's coming up. And we'll see you in May.
Okay, very
All right,
good.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.